There we go. Cool. Good to go on your guys' end. Got people joining. You guys able to see that on your end? Just checking to make sure everything's connected. Cool. Good to rock and roll. All right. Cool. We'll go ahead and get started, guys. Thanks for your patience. A little bit about what we're doing here. Normally, we would hop on and we would do some type of a demonstration. And I do have kind of a template to walk through with you guys, but this is really meant to be an open forum. We'll talk a little bit about what Beast Code does, what our product lines are, and really want to hear what kind of questions you guys have. First time doing this, so may not get a whole bunch of questions, but we'd like to start doing this perhaps monthly, quarterly, whatever makes sense, and see if we can get some momentum and really get these going into whiteboarding sessions. The app that I'm using on here is FigJam. Figma is one of my favorite products that's out there. It's used for product design, but it comes with this FigJam, and it's just an interactive whiteboard. And at Beast Code, we find ourselves using this more and more for all types of presentations. The number of FigJams I make in a day is a little bit crazy. I did post a link to this, so if you click on that, you should be able to join in here. One of the cool features with FigJam is the ability to create these sticky notes, which are tiny because I've made all of these pictures and videos huge. But if you expand it that way, you can put your questions in here just by typing that, and then it'll also have your name so we can see who it is. You can also hide your name if you'd like by taking that off. And most importantly, you can change the colors of these sticky notes too. I did on the right side of here create a whole bunch of sticky notes if you just want to grab one of these or copy paste it. A little bit about me. My name is Matt Zimmerman. I'm the CEO at Beast Code. Helped co-found the company back in 2014 with 6 of my friends from college. My background is in software engineering, so just a huge nerd. My career's been focused on all types of digital buzzwords. It's been really interesting because when we started Beast Code back in 2014, we talked about things like 3D models, and people would say, "Oh, that's a video game. Like we don't use 3D models. We use paper and PDFs." And today, those same types of models are authoritative. And on the same page, we'd be like, we'd really like to get this into a cloud environment so people can log in and collaborate. And back then, those were security vulnerabilities, like 3D models, clouds, other buzzwords. They were the worst things that you could say in a sales pitch. And now all of those things are required. So it's been really cool over the last 10 years to watch things evolve that way. Getting into more personal things about me, books I'm reading, TV I'm watching. We're all reading Dungeon Crawler Carl at Beast Code. I'm on book 7, about to start book 8, which came out a couple months ago. TV, just finished watching Clarkson Farm. Grew up watching Top Gear and watching them drive around all different crazy places doing challenges. Clarkson Farm is just Top Gear on a farm, and it's hilarious. Video games, I'm a nerd, right? So love video games. Just beat the Final Fantasy VII remake. I'm only like 5 years behind doing that, but starting on the next game there. Also got 2 kids, James and Harry. They're also huge nerds, so we spend our weekends setting up different video games, setting up mods, bit of a health nut, so if your questions revolve around protein during this discussion, throw them out there. Love to talk about that, protein workouts, etc. And frickin' Topo Chico sparkling water, the best. As I'm going through these things, stop me at any point. We do have chat hooked up. I'm joined by Kerrigan, who's our marketing manager, so she's monitoring chat as well. Or just feel free to throw sticky notes in here. A little bit about what we do at Beast Code. If I could boil it down to just a few words, it's delivering shared operational awareness, and more specifically, it's bringing together disconnected data so that we can deliver shared operational awareness. Slide that we have for like every presentation we do just talks about the problem of there's so much freaking data out there, all in different formats, all requiring different types of software. That means you got to buy licenses, you got to set up infrastructure for those things, and you have to train people on how to use all those different types of software. What we do, going back to those few words, we bring all that information together into a lightweight format that you can access from a single application, so you don't have to worry about those things. Got a video going here. This is our application, Beast Core. A lot of times the data that we're working with is like a 3D model, and that's the foundational piece. And then we start overlaying metadata, tying in documents, and building workflows and things on top of that. Also have customers that don't care about 3D models. A lot of times when you see Beast Code products, they are like 3D centric. We have customers that we're displaying information like a map view. They don't want to see a 3D model. They want to see geographically how are things laid out, and being able to have different types of like hotspots or blips on the map that they can access the same type of data. But every single project we do typically starts with how do we bring disconnected data into like a digital thread would be the right buzzword. Connecting things, kind of the same kind of idea, but like demonstration wise, being able to bring up the aircraft, click on a component, seeing all the metadata that's affiliated with it. This video will progress into showing you how then I can also look at all the tech manuals that are affiliated with this part. We have this process that goes through all the text within your manuals, and it will identify linkages to any type of metadata that's in there. And so you get these hyperlinks where instead of having just a dumb PDF, I can actually click on things and it'll link me back in to the 3D model or to other pieces of data. Again, going back to having customers that don't necessarily have 3D models, it could be that we're using your documents as the main interface, and then being able to click through that to pull up all the metadata that we know about those things. Building mission-focused applications. Everything that we have is totally extensible. So the whole goal that we had was build a product that solves 80 to 90% of what your challenges are. Again, accessing information, but then being able to build things on top of that. This one's a little bit more complex because this is reality capture, which we can totally rabbit hole down because it's really freaking cool. But being able to go beyond 3D models and ingest all your reality capture data, and then being able to get back to metadata, documents, and other types of information, that's an extension on top of Beast Core. And so a lot of times, most times, it's getting all this information into one place to access it, but then I have this workflow that I want to be able to then use with the 3D model, or I want to have a workflow that connects to my documents, or can you use the information that's now in your database and use that to populate forms and things that are manually intensive. Gets into some of the AI kind of stuff. We're building an AI layer into Beast Core today because we have these repositories of all this information. The easy use case is like a large language model of having the chat prompt on the side here and saying like, hey, this pump, maybe I click on it in the 3D model, has high vibrations. How should I react to this? And then having it go out into the manuals and technical documents we have. It comes back and says, here's the troubleshooting steps, and it links back to sources. That's the easy use case, right? But then getting into more of the agentic nature, right? It could be, hey, I'm working on this type of equipment today, and instead of following the workflows in B-Score, it just automatically renders that information or pulls up the manuals and things you're going to need. We had a team that was at Defense Unicorn's Warhacker event that was bringing in these like engineering engineering type documents, and then, there's hundreds or thousands of these, and it was, as a user, I'm going to build a new one. I need to write this new maintenance card, and I could use the AI in there to as a starting point to summarize what was happening in all the others and find similar ones and then populate mine. And man, while we're on this the reality capture kind of stuff, like getting CAD models to be in a lightweight format connected to data is a challenge within itself, but then being able to keep those models updated as your asset changes, right? So you have like a ship or an aircraft, and some type of modification happens, you do the maintenance. Best case scenario is you would go back and you would update the 3D model so you can interact with it, right? But that could be cost prohibitive. It could be time prohibitive. With reality capture, you can use something like your cell phone, or they sell high-end kind of scanners. You can take essentially a photo, but it captures the contour and the colors of what it is that you're interacting with, and then you can adjust that. So you could have CAD as your baseline, and then start using reality capture on top of that to capture all the revisions and things that are happening. And that starts getting into these use cases where you can do like virtual checks of things. Think about like shipbuilding. I'm gonna go do some type of maintenance activity, and before you do that, there's a lot of validation and things that have to happen, which means I need to walk down from the office to the ship to the space, figure out what I need. Maybe I don't have the right information, so I got to go back to my office and get all of that. Everybody could have a shared understanding of what that space looks like through the 3D models or through reality capture. And just the return on investment of time saved, not jumping between different spaces or having to travel even, really stacks. I think about the use case of building technical drawings. Like, there are organizations that have to travel to the physical asset to do those types of ship techs to put that together. I'm not suggesting that you would replace having a human do those things, but how much could you do virtually before you showed up in real life? It stacks. Connecting engineering to operations, models-based system engineering, huge buzzword. There's a lot of tools like Cameo, like we're showing on here, which is used to functionally represent how systems and components work together. We're able to take those types of models and connect them to the physical realm, the CAD models and the metadata that's behind it. Why is that useful? Thinking about use cases of, I'm a stakeholder that has to make design decisions, and if I'm not the dude or dudette that built the functional representation, there's a lot of complexity to that. But being able to have that complexity tied back to the visual of the asset helps me make those decisions. It helps put it into context of the decision that I'm going to make. Getting into and on that, so going from like the full life cycle, right? Like, we'll probably talk about a lot of digital engineering type things, I would think, in this discussion, but it starts with design, right? And I want to be able to understand my design and mature it, but that moves into construction. I actually have to go build the thing, and being able to reuse all of those assets and information in the construction process I have to train people on how to actually operate and maintain whatever weapon system it is that we're building. So being again able to reuse the 3D models and the data to drive those types of interactive learning environments, then that gets into the sustainment where I've actually in real life have to go fix something and I need to be able to pull up a manual or find a part number and do that rapidly. Something that takes, going to a bunch of different systems today to be able to do. And then getting into modernization, like getting the real performance of the assets so that I can use that to actually mature the systems and use that in the next iteration. The products and the ideas that we're showing here today are full life cycle. It takes you from design through modernization. And I guess I'll stop here for a second because there's a lot of people that think that they can't leverage this type of technology because the thing that I'm working on was built decades ago. So it doesn't have 3D models. And that's not true because we can use things like reality capture, like we were talking about, or we can rapidly build CAD models. And that's not a process that takes years. That's a process that takes days and weeks. So you can have this digital baseline. And we can work with all the different data repositories or technical documents you have or whatever it may be and get that into an internet connected format so you can use these products and we can build things on top of them. And it doesn't have to be costly, right? There is definitely, it matters the complexity of the thing that you're operating on. If we're going to go build an aircraft carrier, that's a much different process than if we're going to build a Humvee, but they're different challenges, right? I've got one of those aircraft carriers. I have thousands, tens of thousands of those Humvees, and there's different strategies to be able to scale that up. But all that to say, like, cost effective, it's not time prohibitive. It doesn't matter if you have an asset from 1985 or if you have one from 2025, you can leverage this technology. And I'd love to use these forums if you guys have questions about how we would actually strategize taking whatever it is and getting it into a digital format, whether it's B-Score or just something else you're working on too. We got this cool learning platform is what we call it. It started as a training application. And so a lot of the customers we work with, they have PowerPoints. The first customer that we worked with had 400 hours of PowerPoint training that people would have to go through. And so you find a lot of next. How do I get through this, get to the quiz, and let's get to doing my job. We were able to take those 400 hours of training and get them into an interactive format so that you're actually walking around the 3D model of the asset and learning about different things and going through different types of objectives. Obviously a lot like richer kind of content than just looking at PowerPoint. A lot of applications out there that do that, right? I mean, there's game engines where you can bring in 3D models and build all kinds of cool interactive stuff. The power that we bring is that it's based on all the information that we're talking about in that digital thread. And so once you have your information structured this way, you can use our drag and drop editor to say, I want to render a fuel system, or in this case, an aircraft, and I want to jump to different points and present different type of information, whether that's just like text or HTML or videos, images, documents, other things that you may already have in this workspace. And I want to build this course. You have all kinds of branching logic, objectives, quizzes, integrates learning management system, etc. And it just makes it easy, right? Because the data is there. It's a drag and drop editor, so anybody can do it. And even more powerful is once you have that, it's really easy to update. So it may be an investment to create a course initially or to get your data into this format. But when you go to do the updates, you don't have to redo everything. If I wanted to change the prompt that's in here to different text because something updated, I can just go change that and redeploy. That breaks how learning products are built today. The other piece of this is it goes beyond learning. And I think back to those design use cases that we had. Most design reviews are done using some type of a PowerPoint. And it goes back to the use case of you, for all these different data formats, you need different types of software licenses, etc. And across your enterprise, people don't have access to those things. And so when you're designing something and you get 3D models from one vendor, different types of data, that often becomes screenshots that go into a PowerPoint, so it can be easily distributed. Using this product, you can have all your information in a common format, but then using the learning stuff, you can create interactive briefs. We can say, this is the latest design of my ship. Here's the decisions that are being made or the changes that happened. And you can use learning to actually fly to those different spots and present what those changes are. And so then everyone is working off the same baseline. I also like to talk about when you take those pictures of those different artifacts, immediately out of date. The same kind of thing with any type of presentation, right? We talk about customers like the map view, like things are changing all the time, different events are happening. That is replacing a process that used to be a PowerPoint. And so being able to have your information in one place means that you can start getting real-time updates, which means everybody's always looking at the same shared operational awareness. Then operating from edge to enterprise, works on all different devices. We do not do anything with headsets, like augmented reality, virtual reality, and that's because the customers that we typically work with in the Department of War can't have those devices where they work. But they do have tablets, they do have laptops, and so our target environment has been being able to open a browser. Chrome is what we prefer, and being able to access all these capabilities from there. All right. Reminder, we got the chat, so if you have any questions at all, drop them in there. Or again, you can use the FigJam to throw any questions you have with sticky notes. Otherwise, I'm going to keep rambling about digital engineering stuff. So there is this 11-minute video of me already rambling about these things, so you can always go back to YouTube and watch that, like and subscribe. But the idea here is just kind of showing like how do we create these types of environments, and this is really intended to be, you know, like at an enterprise level. What are all the different tools that are happening, and how do those things come together? In the early design of things, typically using something like a team center product lifecycle management tool, or maybe using Windchill or Aris, any of the ones that are out there. Those are perfect for authoring data and managing data. So any of your 3D models, metadata, documents, it structures all of that information. You're also probably using things like Cameo. We talked about that. And there's Autodesk and all kinds of other capabilities out there that have simulations to test different parts of your design. Those things typically don't talk to each other. We have a process that brings, it can connect to PLM. It can bring down your 3D models while maintaining connectivity to all your metadata documents. And we can bring in things like the Cameo drawings, and we can start linking those things together so they're in the same context. And there may be a whole bunch of other products that you're using. Use case with this is the general workforce just needs a lightweight tool. Again, these tools are freaking awesome for authoring data, managing data, doing simulations, but they're really complicated. And if you're not an engineer, if you're not an analyst or a scientist, those are not the right tools for you. So having them in this lightweight format means that people across the enterprise can access all these different artifacts. Once you have that, you probably have multiple PLMs based on the size of your organization. So showcasing that you could have a Team Center PLM and you could have a Windchill PLM. Maybe the information is coming together into this shared environment. Maybe you're moving information from one of those PLMs to the other. maybe one is focused on design while the other is authoritative data. And so being able to push information that way. And you likely have, again, based on the size of your organization, you likely have other clouds and other types of applications that need that information based on where you are within the life cycle. And then there's just, in general, most of the assets we work on are large and complex. So there's typically a ton of different vendors that are involved, and they're all using different tools too, right? If you're using um, a small business to be able to build a specific part, they probably are not using something like Siemens Teamcenter. They're probably using a different product to build 3D models or manage their data. So within this common environment, having the ability to ingest those different formats. Um, every project we have typically has some type of different format that we're working with. Not found one yet that we haven't been able to successfully convert. One of the challenges there, like getting a little bit nerdy, is when we work with these different products, um, there isn't always like an easy export button. Like sometimes you can say export and it goes into a common format, maintains all the data, and you can use that. Most times it comes in a specific format and it starts stripping out information. So one of the other things that we've excelled at over the last decade is how do you build tool chains so that you can maintain all the data integrity that you need. So you can go from these proprietary formats into something lightweight and common. And there's the document side, using things like AutoCAD to build technical documents. You probably got a bunch of PowerPoints, probably got Word documents, Excel. So being able to bring all of those types of artifacts into your common environment and link them up. We talked before being able to go through all the text that's within those artifacts and build them into the digital thread. And just the idea that we're trying to show here is whatever it is that you're building, you're going to have all types of enterprise products that are in there, as well as a multitude of smaller digital kind of applications. And the challenge becomes, again, there's so much freaking data, so many different formats, and you need it all coming together into a common environment. And that's what we do. And the cool thing with this, once you have that, then thinking about that entire lifecycle piece, once all the data is in a common format, then you can use this to support construction use cases. You can use it to get it into a sustainment environment that people can access data to actually find documents and part numbers, et cetera, to do maintenance use cases. You can use it to build your training. And the modernization piece too, we don't really touch on it here, but being able to actually have things like live sensor readings or access to all the different maintenance records, et cetera, so that as an analyst or an engineer modernizing a specific system, I can make better decisions. That is my ramble. So if you guys don't have any other questions, I'll hang out for a little bit and see if anything pops up. But if not, we'll wrap it up. Again, ideas we'd like to start doing these more. They don't always have to be on the rails of these are the things we want to present. We could even pick specific topics or specific maybe questions get thrown out that are a little bit bigger. We can come back the next time prepared to really dive into what those are. So if you're watching this later and you think of anything that you'd like to talk about, feel free to hit us up on LinkedIn or go on our website and use our Contact Us page. We'd love to dive into any challenges that you guys have. And with that,